How do you feel?
I'm so glad we're done with these movies.
It's Wednesday night. Oh, it's Thursday night, and we are at Rachel's apartment, and Rachel's parenting her fur baby over there, which must mean that it's Starformers night. Except for we didn't watch anything Star Wars or Transformers tonight, and it's not Wednesday, but whatever. We actually watched
We're gonna have so much
subject.
of this throughout the night. I'm so sorry. She keeps trying to eat her medicine that is not to be eaten.
Welcome to Rebels and Robots, episode 31. We are off to a smashing start. I'm Cameron.
I'm Rachel.
And this is our weekly chat about Star Wars and
Transformers.
Today, as I was about to say a moment ago, we did not watch anything Star Wars or Transformers tonight, but we did watch today's subject a couple days ago. That will be the final film in the quintology of Michael Bay's Transformers films. What is that? What does that look?
Quintessa in the quintology. Oh!
It's almost as if they tried to plan something that didn't pan out. Anyways, we will be talking about that film here in a moment, finishing up Hot Bot Summer. Something that I wish I had come up with at the beginning of the summer so we could have been saying it all summer, but then we would have run into the ground.
I'm glad we didn't say it all summer.
I think it's hilarious. And it's concluding very nicely. The timing is incredible because next week is the first episode, 2 episodes of Ahsoka.
I think so.
They normally release more than one episode.
It's like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, baby. Let's go.
And I could be wrong because actually I don't think I'm wrong. I have the no, I don't have the run times, but I have the directors for each episode.
Yes, I saw that earlier today. I'm excited to get to that. Actually, that's news. So let's transition right into news.
Well, actually, I have quite a bit of news. So apparently, Rise of the Beasts is the highest-grossing movie of all time in Peru.
That sentence took quite a journey. Because I was like, highest grossing, not correct of all time, still not correct in Peru. I have no way to refute that.
I don't either. But
is there any explanation for why that might be?
So this was a couple days ago, so I guess that's probably different now. Rise of the Beast in Peru to date is 52,620,060 million souls, surpassing Avengers Endgame in Peru. Collection in Peru contributed 3% of the total world income and places the number 4 country in the world for this Paramount Pictures title.
Oh, that's the interesting statistic. Wild.
It also had the following milestone, like the film. First time that an international film decentralizes its premiere and looks at the provinces before the capital. Cusco, Tarapoto, and Machu Picchu were the first cities. I didn't read this before. I just took a screenshot. Cusco, Tarapoto, and Machu Picchu were the first cities to vibrate and share their excitement. Yeah, I didn't read that before. Anyways, I really didn't. I saw the first one, so this is just like other things.
This is like the epitome of our lack of preparation.
First time a film, international or national, had a payment to the land of the Yacta of Machu Picchu. Payment to the earth officiated in the classic style with the Inca and his entourage.
Oh. The movie takes place in Peru.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're like totally the first film that's ever been allowed to film at Machu Picchu.
Yeah, but I forgot that was in Peru.
Yeah.
So that's why. They probably had a really successful marketing push there. It was shot there. Okay. There's probably a local celebrity somewhere in the movie. I don't know that for a matter of fact. But
and so
Peruvian celebrity in Transformers. Let's take a look, see what comes up. Well, funny enough, the young lady that's in Transformers 5 is Peruvian.
Oh.
But that does not help with what I'm looking for.
Yeah. We also get first time international production and global franchise highlights. and exalts the Peruvian provincial landscapes. The first time an international production portrayed the nobility of the Peruvian people in the figure of Amaru, a settler in whom Optimus Primal delivers his greatest treasure, the
gift of friendship.
No, whatever the heck they were looking for. I don't even remember. It's been so long. The first time we saw and heard Wheeljack, who is listed as the Peruvian Autobot speaking in Peruvian, which is interesting because that adds another layer to Noah trying to speak Spanish.
Oh, that's
when
why he
Wheeljack
doesn't
speaks
understand
Peruvian.
it.
Yeah,
that is kind of funny.
first time that a photographic artist like Morphy Jimenez, if I pronounce this wrong, I'm sorry, I'm American, participates behind the scenes of an international production, portrays his Peruvian vision of each robot. First time a film receives the rank of ambassador of Machu Picchu, and international mega production filmed in Peruvian territory with the accompaniment of film in Peru, a promotional strategy for Peru film locations. So super cool aspect. I think I know they had the whole production team had to have taken a lot of great care into all the landscape, because I think Rise of the Beast is the first film that's like ever been allowed to film on site at Machu Picchu.
Yeah. We covered that back a few months back, so that makes sense.
They couldn't stand on the rocks, which makes sense.
So I have a correction from a few weeks ago. So this was brought up in a text discussion with man, there's been an ongoing controversy about who our number one fan is, mostly because Caleb doesn't like not being considered our number one fan. We love all of three of our fans. And if you listen and you're not in this three, please, make a campaign for yourself.
Tell
please.
us you listen to our podcast.
Yeah. And Megan is definitely among those three, and I think she might solidify herself as number one with something I'm going to share later. But she was texting us about a discussion we had on the pod, which was the scientific accuracy of calling Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon. Because we observed that the dark side of the moon in that film was not very dark. Well, I did Google search it on the Wikipedia. The far side of the moon is sometimes called the dark side of the moon. Regardless of the shadow, it it an accurate description. So, that is now I have a meme that still addresses this later and, makes fun of the writers of Transformers, but I still think they've earned it nonetheless, because there's a lot of other massive, oversights in inaccuracy of these films, but, they were not really out of line by calling where they were on the moon the dark side of the moon, even though now the question is, now that I think about it, in Transformers 5 there is a fun little piece of trivia where the moon's getting destroyed, not trivia, continuity, where the moon's getting destroyed and you see the Autobot ship right next to where the American flag is. Mm-hmm. That's not on the dark side of the moon. I really did
I don't remember if we see them placing the flag, but when they land, they did not have to walk very far to see the ship.
I guess what I'm saying is that location on the dark side of the moon, on the far, whatever you want to call it, far side, dark side. Question. I would be very surprised because you can see the Earth from where they originally landed. We're getting really too deep into something that's from 2 episodes ago, but I thought that was interesting. So correction on us, but it was still a funny conversation nonetheless.
I still think it's dumb to call it the dark side of the moon.
Now we're not going after Transformers writers. We're just going after scientists.
I just still think it's dumb. Call it the far side.
What else you got?
Paramount Pictures. Oh, I actually cropped out the caption. Oh no, that's really funny. Paramount Pictures and Transformers Official posted one of those things. It's like a word find. And the first 2 bots you see are supposed to be in your team. So I'm curious to see.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, so mine were Optimus Primal and Battle Trap. So I'm curious which first 2 you see.
Okay. I see Optimus Primal. Are you setting me up for a joke? I see Ape Link.
No, so those are your two friends. That's it.
Oh,
that's your
the
team.
first two that you just
the first team that you like see with your eyes.
Oh, that's funny. What do you point? Oh, she's munching over there. Yeah, I can hear her pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be on the background audio.
The number of times we've said the word Ape Link on this podcast for a character that has very little screen time in the entirety of the Transformers canon. My other thing I'll save for the conclusion of this segment, so you can keep going.
Okay, so unfortunately, I have Revenge of the Fallen content. Literally, this says "Ugh." I literally captured this "Ugh." Revenge of the Fallen content, and this is from Twitter. I don't care if it's called X. We're still calling it Twitter. Anyways, this is an interview with Michael Bay and someone else. I don't know who it is. But so I just want you to listen. This is about 30 seconds. I just want you to listen to this.
John Simmons is he says, I'm under the robot scrotum. Yeah. I want to do a shot where he looks up and he's trying to know where we are. And I want one of those wrecking balls kind of hanging.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe they had this on video.
Another wrecking ball, kind of just clink. That's a funny laugh.
Oh my.
He looks up and he says,
this really shows just his lack of awareness. Oh, good stuff.
Anyways.
If you didn't listen to our Revenge of the Fallen episode, which I don't blame you, and you haven't seen Revenge of the Fallen.
Sounds like you're living life.
Which I also don't blame you if you haven't seen the movie.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
There's 2 times Rachel has yelled that on this podcast. Right now, and the time I did my Alex Jones impression. If you haven't seen Revenge of the Sith, oh shoot,
Revenge
should.
Revenge
of the Fall. I said, oh, guys, Athena, write that time code down. This episode is already off the rails, and we haven't even started talking about the movie. Athena, 13:35 into the recording. If you haven't seen Revenge of the Fallen, there's a part in it where the giant combiner, Devastator, right, is climbing over one of our heroes, and I don't know why I need to describe this. Just so you can explain what we were just talking about.
Unfortunately, if you've seen Revenge of the Fallen,
this Transformer is made up of construction vehicles, and it includes 2 wrecking balls, and these wrecking balls then form to appear to recreate some male anatomy, and a character comments on it, and that was what that video was about. The Michael Bay describing that moment to what I would assume is like an animator or a concept artist. He's like, it's gonna get some laughs. What else you got, Rachel?
They released a list of the Ahsoka episode directors.
All right, go for it.
Episode 1, Dave Filoni.
What?
Oh my god!
No way!
Episodes 2 and 3, Steph Green, who worked on Boba Fett. And if I am correct, I believe the first 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I think I looked this up earlier, and now I'm totally blanking.
That didn't work.
So the first result on Google is a website called Daps Magic.
Oh.
I don't know what that means, and I don't think I want to know. So Steph Green worked on... I think everyone on this list has worked on Star Wars at some point. At least almost everyone. So Steph Green is a television director who worked on TV shows such as The Americans and Watchmen, and also an episode of Book of Boba Fett.
I was trying to figure out like the episodes, but I can't.
Yeah,
I am.
It is season 1, episode 2, Tribes of Tatooine of Book of Boba Fett.
That's a good one. So those Steph Green's doing episodes 2 and 3. Episode 4 is Peter Ramsey, who is credited on Spider-Verse.
Yeah, as well as Rise of the Guardians. And
I forgot that film existed. I've never seen it.
Yeah, a lot of people have not. Also, 1 episode of The Mandalorian, from earlier this year. He directed the episode 5, The Pirate.
Oh, okay.
Which, as I recall, you thought might be about Hondo.
I did think it was going to be about Hondo. Sad. Episode 5, Dave Filoni.
What?
Episode 6, Jennifer Getzinger, who has worked on Daredevil.
Oh, cool.
I've never seen Daredevil, so.
Great show. Highly recommend. She also worked on episodes of Mad Men and Westworld.
Episode 7, Geeta Patel, House of the Dragon.
Nice.
And then episode 8, our boy, Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah, who's done episodes of
so good.
like almost every show. I think
Yeah.
maybe not Andor. I think so. I think
you're
Geeta
right.
Patel is the only person on this list who's not worked with Star Wars before.
I'm actually really excited.
But she has worked with Disney Marvel, working on an episode of The Runaways back in 2019.
So yeah, 8 episodes.
Let's go.
Exciting times.
Gonna be good to get back to our roots. This podcast has gotten we've leaned way too far into the robots part of Rebels and Robots. We gotta
Finally.
go back to the Rebels part.
So
We're really
finally
going to the
good
Rebels part.
content. I got one last one because I know you're waiting for
Go
one last.
for it.
So this isn't news, but it's not meme minute.
Okay.
I found this and someone said, is anyone going to talk about how the Bad Batch's ship is basically their Mojo Dojo Casa house?
Nice.
That's it. That's pretty much it. But anyways,
Very fun. Okay, so Megan visited
wait,
us.
I might have 2. I'm so sorry.
Oh, go for it.
This isn't news and we don't have to watch all 1.5 minutes of this. But someone made an edit to, honestly, one of my favorite meme formats is, for context, this scene is from The Incredibles, when Mr. Incredibles finds out, when he sneaks into, like, Syndrome's office and finds out all the supers are dead. And it's one of my favorite things when they edit things to it.
Agreed.
Someone edited it to Hasbro's Transformers Studio series. And all of the figures that were like teased and then canceled.
Okay.
It's just so funny. Anyways, I'll probably like share it on our on social media, but it's so funny. Give it a look.
So you're not gonna play it at all?
Oh, you want me to?
No, I don't want you to. It's too visual. If you were going to, I was not going to tell you not to. But if you weren't planning on, okay.
Well, now I'm going to. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so Megan visited us last week, and she shared with me our first ever bit of fan art. It's not like visual. Like she didn't draw anything, but she made something.
Oh,
And it's a video that she entitled 1 minute and 23 seconds of Cameron and Rachel not saying nonetheless. Or not saying nevertheless. Nonetheless. But nonetheless. So this goes on for a minute 23, and it's mostly me.
nonetheless.
But you're in there a bit too.
Oh my gosh.
And a minute 23 doesn't seem like very long.
That's a lot.
Until you consider the fact that it's one word.
Nonetheless,
And here's how the ending is hilarious. So I'm going to skip ahead. That's only been 40 seconds so far.
Nonetheless, that is still a very good joke, nonetheless.
So thank you, Megan, for that.
So good.
I lost it. This made me so happy when she
good.
showed that to
I
me.
love that.
Was a lot of work that she put in. That's only the first 30 episodes. No, it's the first 29 episodes.
Oh yeah.
And then she informed me after listening to episode 30 that I got through almost the entire podcast without saying it. Neither of us said
man.
it. And then I said it in the last couple minutes of last week's episode.
See, now we're gonna be like hypersensitive to it. Also, big props to Megan for keeping an eye out in Walmarts that she visits for the Black Series figures, and now my mom does it too. So I just get pictures of Black Series figures sometimes, captioned with "Do you want this?"
And a quick stack. I think she said there was only 4 episodes of 29 episodes that we did not say nonetheless. And I think she may have said the record was like 8 in one episode.
I'm knocking things over.
Rachel's throwing stuff at her cat. Okay, you ready to move on to today's subject? Wait, actually, you know what? I think there's something from a previous. If we're going to talk about Megan, I think there's a previous text from her that I forgot to share on the pod, or maybe it was. Maybe not. What was last week? Last week was 30. Okay, maybe not. So episode 31. Oh, something from last week. Caleb made a mention of we were talking about the score for Transformers 4 and how there was just a very limited EP version that only had 4 tracks, and then there was like a over 2-hour version.
Yeah.
That was the full score. And Caleb said, I would like to have someone lay that over the film and see if it lines up or not. Mm-hmm. And he said, Megan, that's not a challenge. Well, she texted us and said that she wants to do it now, which I thought was really funny.
The downside is that you have to watch Age of Extinction in order to do that. Is it you have to ask Megan, is it worth the risk?
So this week's subject, we are concluding the quintology, if that's even a word.
Quintessology.
The Michael Bay keeps saying he's gonna not make another Transformers and then does Saga, where he finally stopped at 5.
I think he was stopped. I think he was stopped. I don't think he stopped. I think Paramount went, that's enough, Michael.
To give some context for this, what I think is pretty important. For one thing, this is coming out in 2017. This is like, now we are in peak Marvel craze. Like, things are crazy. And this is also the year that's also this is also the stretch where you're starting to see people are finally getting around to trying to copy the Marvel Cinematic
This is
Universe.
also the year The Last Jedi came out.
Yes. First context of where was relation to Star Wars.
Ooh, Star Wars.
People are, so like pretty much 2012 Avengers comes out, and now like 5 years is like the time it took for people to start creating their own cinematic universes. And it hits Transformers really hard in this movie. You see them starting to lay the groundwork for this kind of stuff with the last one, and by the time they get to this one, I remember reading at the time they established a quote writer's room for Transformers cinematic
They got writers
universe.
for these films?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
This movie was meant to be the launching point for a larger universe. And you can tell this movie was effectively, I feel, like proof of concept sequences for Transformers spinoffs. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And while it's more focused generally than some of the previous ones, because the previous ones have a lot of storylines, but this one has a lot of one-off scenes. Its main story is relatively focused. It's really like about Kate. Like, I think more than almost any of the previous 4, this one is about like 2 human characters for the vast majority of it.
Transformers being too much about humans again. What else is new?
As opposed to, like, there really is just like there is really just 2 storylines going on at one time. There's the heroes and there is Linux. And it'll cut back to Optimus Prime off doing his thing every once in a while.
He's my hero.
There goes my hero. But
Right, copyright for that.
But in place of having 5 different concurrent running storylines like the previous 4, this one has a bunch of like detours that contribute nothing to the overall movie and are clearly just meant to be, okay, we could maybe make this a Transformers movie. You guys maybe you like this, well, we'll get to it. I have a list of the things this movie directly rips off. Whereas like a lot of Transformers films are broadly ripping off just different cliches and tropes in films. This one is directly stealing from other major Hollywood films. And again, for context, we're talking about why this is the last one, whereas the other ones were massively successful, and they were increasingly so. The last one was, if it was not the most successful, it was like neck and neck with number 3, making over $1 billion.
Crazy.
This one made somewhere in the ballpark of 600 million and cost between like 215 and 260 million, which means after marketing, it barely made a profit. Like this is not a success at all, if at all, not a success. I remember reading that Bumblebee actually was more profitable for them, even though it made significantly less.
Good.
And additionally, again, Michael Bay said he was not coming back, and then in early January 2016, he announced that he would return, which is less than a year and a half.
Michael Bay returned.
Very good. Less than a year and a half before the movie even came out, which is not enough time, which really explains a lot of the shoddiness of this movie. What's always kind of sad about, like, in the time when a really bad or really confusing movie comes out, you're not going to get the full story for like 30 years. Like in 30 years, when everyone's like contract have expired and they're not trying to build connections.
I'm so excited for the NDAs.
Exactly.
To expire.
Eventually, someone will come out and spill the tea about why a particular. I mean, it's probably just Michael Bay, but it feels like there's something really terrible going on the set of this movie, because they threw so much money at this film, and there are still just like amateur mistakes. Like, I'm not even talking about lack of storytelling. I'm talking about CGI missing and shots that just don't look finished and edits that don't make any sense. And it's just there's incompetency on a storytelling level, and there's just straight up, this is not a finished movie. Which we start to see more and more these days, unfortunately, as movies, they just think they can rush things out and just throw money at it, but that's not enough. So we structure these we have been structuring them around what we like, what we don't like, and just like what confuses us or what makes you, as Caleb coined last week, moments. And then I also have enjoyed listing off out of context quotes as well. So, Rachel, what did you like about Transformers: The Last Night? Wait, real quick. Do you want to give like a quick story synopsis?
Man, so basically, in case anyone was curious, they try to bring Cybertron to Earth again.
How does it start, though? How does the movie start?
I was waiting for you to finish filling your water.
No, go for it. This is a very laid back episode.
So, crap, how does it start? Oh, so we start in Chicago, which was
even before that, right? Doesn't it start in the past? All the King Arthur stuff. Is that?
Oh my gosh, you're right. So, if in case you wanted to show up and watch a Transformers movie, you gotta wait 5 minutes through some History Channel documentary about King Arthur and his knights, who was actually real. And
for context, she's not saying he was real in our reality, but he's real in this movie's reality.
He's real in this movie's reality, and they and their magic. Or Merlin's magic, who is played by none other than Stanley Tucci. Woo! In an entirely different role. Merlin's magic comes from the technology from a group of Cybertronian knights.
He somehow got his Tooch back in this.
For somehow, they're on Earth, and they transform into a 3-headed dragon. So, whatever, magic is real, whatever, dragons are real. Anyways, back to modern day. We show up in Chicago, which looks like it went through the ringer again. We kind of realized that. The movie has plausible undeniability in the sense that it doesn't explain this, and maybe, or it does, and I didn't care enough, which I'll still give the movie credit for. It's possible the destruction that we're seeing in Chicago happened between movies, but a lot of people come to the conclusion, which I don't blame them, that this is still destruction from number 3.
because it can't be from 4.
No.
'Cause there wasn't really nothing really happened in Chicago. It all happened above Chicago.
They
and
did
briefly
crash
in the streets.
one ship into a Bud Light truck.
Like this is what this is whatever. I would imagine this is it Wrigley Field? Is the Cubs?
Yes.
In Chicago, has some sort of like ship crashed into it. I would assume there's a shot of Wrigley Field in Transformers 4. At least you can see it in the background.
Maybe.
And I don't think this even happened in 3. It is like, if they are implying that whatever destruction we're seeing in Chicago is from 3, it doesn't make any sense.
No, because it was rebuilt. But anyways, so we see a group of kids. So basically, the plot line is that a bunch of other Transformers have started coming to Earth. And the government's like, well, that's no good. Stop doing that. They don't like that. We get introduced to like a cast of kids who we'll never see again. And they kind of sneak into a destroyed part of Chicago to try to find a Transformer. And we are introduced to Isabella and her tiny Transformer companion, Squeaks, who I think is one of the ugliest Transformers, but that's just me. Anyways, I got beef with that guy. And so she's been living there for a while. She has another Autobot friend, and this is a government patrolled area, and they're trying to eradicate Transformers again. Nothing's really changed from the last film. So they kill one of the Transformers that was protecting her, and we think all hope is lost. And then Cade Yeager shows up. He's pretty much been kind of like off grid since the last film. For the couple years that have passed, he's been basically fighting against the government's destruction of Transformers. The usual. No one knows where Optimus is, FYI. He flew off into the sky and no one knows where he is at this current point. So we do get to see a familiar face, one that we actually enjoy. Lennox is in this film, working for the government and like almost a part of the team that's hunting down Autobots, but not quite, like on the extermination side of things. So, gosh, I don't even know how to summarize this.
That's fine. I mean, you just say
like Cade is a wanted man, and he tries to rescue one of the dying Transformers that landed, and he gets handed a medallion. And basically, this is one of the chosen one magic item acquired thing. And so it is now his destiny to team up with the final survivor of the Witwicky clan, which we'll probably get into later, Vivian, a girl from London. I don't know where that was.
Yep.
And they have to like save Earth, because Quintessa, the villain of this film, is trying to bring Cybertron to Earth again. And Earth is also Unicron, FYI. There's a lot of antagonistic subplots going on. Quintessa is bad. The original 12 Knights were against Quintessa. And she's also basically mind-controlled Optimus Prime, who did find her. She's like a fake false god or whatever. And so having to... there's a big fight, and Cybertron actually does come to Earth, screws up a good couple chunks of it, takes out the moon, and then everything is magically resolved. And now the two planets are just together. That's not a good summarization, but there's just so much that goes on and so little that happens. That I would tell you to watch it, but I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
And with that said, what'd you like about this movie?
Oh gosh. I mean, we get to see Stanley Tucci again.
Yeah, that's true.
An entirely different role.
As drunk Merlin, who's not actually a magician.
Here's the thing. Maybe he just actually showed up drunk on set. And that was the only way he was going to be able to get through this.
Yeah, that checks out, I think.
I liked that there was actually a surprising lack of Tom Kenny in this film.
Though he does return as Wheelie.
Unfortunately, but briefly. That's the big important part. Very, very briefly. And actually, if there's a scene I actually like in this film, it is the negotiation scene between Megatron and the government.
Okay, so you do like that scene.
I don't care for the Suicide Squad like cut-ins style, like the Suicide Squad style cut-ins. I think it is really like the concept is really funny that Megatron is negotiating with Earth governments to figure out which one of his Decepticons they're willing to release. And he actually like, because there's one that I think is a Berserker he asks for. And they immediately go, no, we don't do that. And he accepts that. That's just so funny to me because I think in any of the previous films, that wouldn't have happened.
Sure.
Just the entire concept of this negotiation and both parties being like, yeah, that's okay, or no, that's not okay, and accepting it. Gosh, that's just really funny to me. Amusing.
But yeah, I'll give that to him too.
It's just pure shenanigans.
It's got some fun energy to it. We've talked about these, especially the last one, lacking any sense of like it had bad vibes. These movies have bad vibes.
Bad vibes.
They're not fun. They slog on. They oftentimes there's a lot of nothing happening, and that is a scene that actually like the actors are kind of having fun with. The dialogue's a little snappier. Yeah. Like actually, now I think about it, something that I have later on to talk about is how the characters like bicker and fight way too much. This is a scene where that energy makes sense. It's a negotiation between mortal enemies. And that energy makes sense for this kind of scene.
It is funny because it's Megatron and Lennox.
Exactly.
Who have fought in the past. So it's funny.
So I have so you mentioned the King Arthur stuff. So I think that stuff is kind of fun. Like it looks pretty decent. Like if you just there's some action scenes in there that are pretty competently constructed Arthurian legend battle scenes. The costuming and stuff. Like I mean, I'm not paying super close of attention, but like you wouldn't expect a series that's taken place almost entirely in the modern day to actually pull off that period piece segment. It's again, what I talked about last time is why I kind of liked the human-made Autobots because they had a different transformation to them. Anytime this movie the series does something even slightly different, I appreciate it, and it might just be like not necessarily Stockholm syndrome, but just like I'm desiring something different so strongly that anything different is a positive to me. So, like. Obviously, I'm not going to say I would prefer an Arthurian legend Transformers film, but it's a nice like reprieve from what this movie series normally is. I think that the night aesthetic Transformers are pretty cool looking. Like again, they're different. They're not the jagged edge, horrible to look at Transformers. Their faces are covered, which I think is a big positive.
Boys.
So I think there's that point one of them takes their face off and they're super ugly. So as soon as they have
it's just the longer these movies go, the more like hyper realistic the faces get, and it's uncomfortable.
What else you got?
Well, I said all three of the things.
You said all of them. Okay.
There's not a whole lot, Cameron.
Hopkins is a definite MVP for this movie.
He put his
and you heard that right. Anthony Hopkins, Sir, and well, maybe is he Sir Anthony Hopkins? I bet he is. Yes, Sir Philip Anthony Hopkins is in this movie. This man is considered one of the, if not the best actor of the last couple decades. Famous for playing Hannibal Lecter. Why? He's like a secondary character. Like he's secondary because he's not in the first act and he's not super present in the third act, but he is all over the second act. He is like the driving force of the entire second act. And he's going for it, man. Like, and he's done this in other movies. He did a very similar performance in Red 2. I know that for a fact. This is not I also am reminded of like kind of Stellan Skarsgård performance in Thor: The Dark World when he kind of goes crazy. Like this is not that far out there for an actor to just go nuts. But again, he's doing something. He's giving a performance, and it matches the character. And Anthony Hopkins is just so infinitely likable. No matter what character he's watching, he's always a fun actor to watch. And he kind of breaks the movie because like he doesn't really match the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
He's talking so fast. He's just like he shows up and gives exposition for like 20 minutes straight. But it is kind of fun because it's like imagine they just kind of like I wouldn't even say they double down. They quadruple down on everything this series has been up to this point. Mostly the revisionist history. In every film, they take one or two pieces of American or world history and they add Transformers to it. This movie goes, so what if Transformers were part of everything?
Of everything.
That's pretty much what he does. Is he pretty much lays out how the Transformers have been around for every part of world history.
All of these like 1800s paintings too. They're not even in just like photos. Someone painted an Autobot in what looks like it looks like Optimus Prime in the background of some photo of George Washington speaking to his troops.
And if this were I say this almost every time, a lot of modern series, when a series has been going too long, oftentimes the most recent movie in a series might have been the best one if it were the first one. If parts of this were in the first Transformers film, if you established, okay, the Transformers have been around forever, I'm fine with that. I'm not like it's silly, but Transformers are silly. Like I'm not fundamentally against that. What doesn't make sense is saying that in the third film, where it's just patently untrue in this canon.
Fifth film?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sorry. Wow. The fifth film. It just logically makes no sense. Optimus, they all arrive. It's called Arrival to Earth.
One of the best tracks in the entire franchise.
There's no indication that not even just Transformers in general, these specific characters have not been around. The closest thing I found online to trying to explain this is that it's not actually Optimus Prime. It's not actually Bumblebee. Even though they do say there's another sequence in this movie where it shows a World War II battle with Bumblebee. They say that's Bumblebee. This theory totally just ignores the fact that they say it's Bumblebee, and they're just hypothesizing that it's just another Autobot who is like his twin that looks like him. Makes zero sense, but that's the best I could find online.
Anthony Hopkins says it was him, though.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. This theory ignores that the movie straight up says
theory. Yes, sorry.
that. Yes, it is. It is meant to be Bumblebee. That's another scene in this movie that there's just an action sequence that takes place in World War II. Again, it's actually pretty good. I think World War II Army Jeep Bumblebee looks pretty sweet. He reminds me a lot of the Iron Giant, which is funny because then the Bumblebee movie's whole plot is pretty much just Iron Giant. They somehow make the period piece aesthetic look good. Again, another potential spinoff. Okay, so my final thing. So that's the only two things I like legitimately like about this movie. My last one is not a good thing, but it was probably the single most joyful moment I've had in our course of watching all 5 of these movies. Towards the end of this film, it's like the beginning of the climax. Like we are entering the climax. Megatron is back. The Autobots are together again. They've been joined by the knights who have been like in hiding for the last like 1,500 years.
Sleeping.
Yeah. Earth is about to get destroyed. Like this is like the moment the movie is supposed to like kick in. Like we're in the end game here. And we're in the fields next to Stonehenge, which these things all sound insane out of context. And
someone who's never seen The Last Night, tell us how we're doing.
It cuts to a wide shot of this big, beautiful green field and all the Transformers lightly jogging. And I lost it. Between the editing, the cinematography, the context, because like in the foreground you have the humans running at full speed, and then you have they're not. The humans are also pretty much jogging. They're kind of running, but the Autobots, it doesn't even look like they're trying to run, and they're moving slowly. It looks like they're trying to match pace with the humans.
It does,
and it's again, context. They can turn into cars. They can turn into vehicles that can move very quickly. They are giant robots with very long legs. In one step, they can go very quickly. This is the beginning of the climax. And there's also no sound either. There's no sound effects. So just these characters, you could easily, like, this is a cliche joke, but legitimately in this moment, you could easily slot in the I'm gonna forget da na 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 da da
Oh
na
my
na
gosh.
Chariots of Fire, the famous running on the beach movie scene.
Yeah.
That song itself is very much a cliche, and that joke is way overused. But it would fit. It would make sense over this music.
Did we watch it 2 or 3 times?
Oh my
I can't
gosh!
remember how many times.
3 times we watched it.
Oh, because we watched it and you died, and we had to watch it a second time, and then we had to watch it a third time because your wife had gotten up to do something. And you went to go back to show her.
Oh man. So that's the pinnacle. I mean, like, this movie's bad, but that was the peak of the series for me. It's just hilarious, and I loved it. It was an accident, but whatever. So now that we've got that obligatory part out of the way, let's talk about what's bad about this movie, and let's wrap up this series. Put some hammers in this coffin.
You need some nails.
No, we're putting hammers in the coffin so it can sink to the bottom of the ocean and never come back to life.
So you can bury it at sea like they did Merlin for some reason.
Oh man, I'm not realizing it is incredibly disappointing that they opened that case and Stanley Tucci's not, like, alive in there. That would have been so funny. It would have fit the character if he'd just been alive the whole time. That would have been brilliant. And then you could have another third act. Like, what's the best part of 4? It's Tucci in the third act of 4. Bring him back, man. Oh my gosh, what a missed opportunity. Anyways, and Tucci and Hopkins bouncing off each other.
Oh my gosh.
Would have been a phenomenal
No,
scene.
see, just imagine if it was just Tucci and Hopkins the entire film. It was so good.
It would have been too much, though. Like,
Oh, what do you mean too much, Tucci?
like they're too high energy. You can't sustain that over an hour and a half. Big stretch over there. You're not paying attention, editor. This is gold we're giving you over here. Anyways, what did you not like, Rachel? Oh, also Frank Welker returning as Megatron.
Oh, yeah.
That's always a positive.
Yeah.
Bringing back the original voice. Approve of that.
Oh, what did I not like? Okay, bad space science. Drives me nuts every time. You can't bring in a planet to another's atmosphere without there are actually some, like, kind of bad consequences this time, but, like, it's like I said in our Dark of the Moon. It's in our Dark of the Moon tangent. Bringing something really of any size directly into our atmosphere that quick would just rend our planet apart. It's just it destroyed the Cybertron coming into the atmosphere, destroyed the moon. There is no moon. That's going to be so bad.
What I would assume is in whatever next movie they were, it's just assuming they would get to make, Cybertron would be the new moon.
I did wonder that.
Which is kind of cool.
But, like,
it's kind of an interesting, I think what the presumption there would be is they'd be able to replicate some, like in the cartoon, at some point they're just going back and forth between Cybertron like it's nothing.
Public transport.
Like, it's a huge problem and then it's not a problem at all. They'd be able to do those sequences if just Cybertron was just right there. But
they probably would have
anyways.
given Cade like a mech suit.
Yeah, probably.
They're already alluding to it.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if some of the things in Rise of the Beast was concept that would have been intended for whatever sixth movie they would have made. Yeah, because that makes sense.
It just drives me nuts. I don't love what they did to Lennox in this film. I'm glad that they brought him back, but I mean, it's like if you look at it, he's a character, character that can y'all tell I like this character? Just throwing it out there. I don't know if it's that obvious. A character who seems to be kind of wrapped up in all the bureaucracy that's going on in the government, because he's like, it's MI6. It's not Cemetery Wind anymore. It's MI6, which is the government's team that handles Transformers now. And so he's like a part of it, but it's really confusing because I'm not quite sure how it's just, he's bland. And I mean, I don't think he was like the most fleshed out, but I feel like the first movie gave us like a good intro to his character, you know, and it's just, he felt like an accessory to Cade.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think, like I said in the last episode, these movies should have been about Lennox.
Yeah. I mean, this would have been his conflict in this film is, I think, somewhat interesting. He's torn between serving his country and doing his job and doing what he knows is right. Mm-hmm. And if that had been the plot of the fourth one, then he could have easily slotted into Cade's role in this one, which is off the grid, rogue, protecting Autobots, trying to find them protection. It would have made total sense in this one. But yes, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh man! Ruined it. Oh man. There's just like so much that I don't like. Vivian and Cade just have no chemistry.
At all.
No chemistry.
It goes from them bickering to them kissing, and there's no real in between. Which brings up a point that I don't like, which is, I mean, it's been prevalent through all these movies, but for some reason it finally struck me in this film, which is Michael Bay's version of character chemistry, just having all the characters bicker and fight all the time, no matter what. And it just really finally got to me in this one. And I think because the main time you see flirting is in the first one, and they're not bickering. Michaela, thank you. Michaela and Sam are not really bickering. They're kind of acting like actual
awkward
teenagers around each other. And then the next two films, the next one, they're bickering. But there's supposed to be start of a relationship here. And yes, it's a very common trope that you have two characters and when they meet, they don't like each other. Yeah, that happens all the time. But when everyone hates each other in this series, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, okay, we've never seen this character actually really like anyone. He even like is bickering with his own daughter most of the previous film. Like, there's never a sense that anyone actually likes each other. They're always fighting. It's just so grating and grinding, and I hate it.
And another part with Vivian, I think there's a lot of potential for her character. She's a doctorate. She had a doctor, like multiple masters, and
yeah. So I mean, okay, let's see. I think this movie is trying to do better with its woman lead. But man, I guess better in this context is not much.
But
she has something to do, but it's by birth. Yes, so she's a professor. She studied history. She studied the Arthurian legend stuff. But the only reason she's ultimately useful is because she genetically can activate the staff.
Oh, and here's a very important part. So Stanley Tucci plays Merlin.
Yeah.
And this is all real. Merlin is the start of the Witwicky family clan.
Which was Sam's last name in the first three movies.
Yes, and also the last names of Spike and Sparkplug in the G1 show. That's where it all comes from. Anyways, It's also confirmed in this movie that Sam is dead because Vivian's the
It's
only.
not technically confirmed, but it's strongly alluded
strongly implied
to
because they say
they're
Vivian is the last
Yeah.
of the Witwicky line. And you don't get to
they
be
say
the last.
Witwicken, so it's like slightly different.
Ye old English.
Yeah, which, speaking of which, there's the subtitles said that the knight spoke Old Cybertron or Cybertronian.
And it was OLDE. It was really funny. But so it's just, yeah, it's like they tried. But then, for example, your wife had a really good. So we watched this movie together, and also with Cameron's wife. And she had a good point because when we get the 20 minutes of exposition from Anthony Hopkins about him, also he just has like the actual round table of the Knights of King Arthur like in his side room and all these artifacts. She makes a good point. So Vivian, so she's like a professor or whatever, and she's wearing this dress. It's a low cut dress. At some point, like a couple shots later, it's like whoever was doing the costume just like yanked down the dress even farther, and like half of her bra is out. And it's just kind of like, well, that's weird because it was so much of a difference that's the like, it's only like someone unzipped it purposefully.
Yeah. So
just weird.
I guess that's why I was really hesitating. This movie's doing better with its female lead, while they're giving her. I don't know if she has agency or not. She doesn't have a lot of choice, but she does ultimately have to have bravery to go into that final battle and do what she does. And she is making choices kind of similar to Michaela in the first film. Whereas Michaela feels like she's like kind of there on accident, and she's making a choice to like use her skills to be part of it. In this movie, it kind of like it's this chosen one element, and it's better, I guess, by proximity to other female characters in the series, but this is just, I guess, if she wasn't sexualized at all, it would just say, well, this series is just bad at writing characters. It's not a sexist thing, but it is a sexist thing because she's constantly sexualized.
I can't remember if we missed it. We started this and we get introduced to Vivian, and your wife said, oh, is she to have a moment later where she takes her glasses off and suddenly she's attractive? Did they have that specific moment? Was it in the submarine?
I think it feels like more she shows up so Hot Rod kidnaps her, who is an Autobot, and she shows up dressed as she kind of normally is.
No similarity.
And then
to the
I think
G1.
does she change clothes in that scene, and she changes into something sexier, and that kind of feels like it's meant to be like
maybe
Cade. It kind of feels like Cade is kind of taken aback by her change of clothes.
Maybe,
but he's barely met her at that scene, so I would say no. This movie does not have. She just, if anything, she does not like real confidence. She doesn't. She doesn't think she's not pretty.
Yeah.
This movie does not fall into that cliche, thankfully.
But it does not pass the Bechdel test.
Absolutely not.
I don't think any female. Oh. No, because there's that super weird scene with all her female relatives, and all they're talking about is how Vivian can't find a man.
So what else about this movie? We've alluded to it's ripping off stuff. So I've got a list of things I noticed that it was like
that was what my third one was.
It's directly ripping off.
A bunch of movies all in one.
The opening King Arthur sequence is like directly visually ripping off Game of Thrones. Just like
is
super popular at the time. Very obviously. The whole like we're dealing with the origin of a species and who made these people, but they're evil is very Prometheus, the Alien prequels. So Isabel, character we've briefly mentioned, is a young woman whose parents are dead, and she lives in a almost post-apocalyptic Chicago, taking care of herself, scavenging. 100% Ray. It's absolutely Ray.
I don't care for Isabel's character. It's just it's.
But again, more spin-off material.
Yes.
I think you could almost say this list of things I'm listing, these scenes I'm listing, almost every one of them would also fall under a list of things they were hoping would make their own movie. She's in it for like a lot, for like 20 minutes, and then she's there for the third act, like the third act battle, and that's it. She's not really in the movie very much.
Yeah.
And then her droid, her Autobot, or robot that she's with her, that she like fixes, is very BB-8. He like speaks through beeps. He's small. He rolls around on wheels. 100% BB-8.
He does not have quite like the power that BB-8 had.
No, not at all.
Because one of my favorite comments someone said after Last Jedi came out was that BB-8 needs a nerf. He's too powerful.
Now, this is more like a trope that they're using, because the film, if it would make no sense to rip off this film because it's a 2011 film that did not make any money, but nonetheless, the way that the one of the knights crashes their ship and Yeager finds it, and that alien, which is a transformer, then bestows upon him a weapon that is meant for a hero.
Yeah,
is Green Lantern.
Fortunately it was Cade.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if it was like someone else.
That's 100% Green Lantern. That's exactly what happens. That's the Green Lantern story. My wife pointed this one out. So the first scene with Bumblebee, he shows up and he like collapses into a bunch of pieces to like fool the humans he's about to fight, and then his like pieces all come back together and fly towards each other. 100% out of Iron Man 3, where his suit can like break into different pieces and then fly back together.
Pretty dumb.
What?
I think it's dumb.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, again, it's a little bit of creativity. The sequence where his pieces are like individually messing up the humans is kind of fun.
Someone does get decked with his arm, which is really kind of funny when it flies back.
Ultimately, that really only serves to allow him to get torn apart later in the movie and then come back together with zero consequences. So ultimately, it sets up something that allows them a scene that I will talk about in a moment. This will be the last on this list that is just horrible.
They actually put forethought into one scene in this film.
Vivian is just Laura Croft.
Yeah.
That's just it. So like, you can't really give them much credit.
I would almost say in looks too.
Absolutely. The performance, her backstory, her
British,
her knowledge, she is just Laura Croft. So you can't really give this movie much credit. Yeah. They're just ripping off of one of the most famous female characters of the last like 20 or 30 years. You mentioned earlier Suicide Squad. There's a segment in this movie where they are hiring Megatron to hunt down the Autobots, and they're going to give him a team of Decepticons they have captive, and he lists them off, and they each display their own name in their own font, and it's 100% supposed to be the Suicide Squad from 2016. We have not talked about this character at all up to this point, and wouldn't really need to, but he is the flip side of the coin of Anthony Hopkins' performance, the high energy, but a bad version of it. It's a little Autobot named Cogman, who is a headmaster. Yeah. And do you want to talk about what headmasters normally are in Transformers?
Basically, they are little Transformers that pilot big Transformers.
And in this one, he's just a little Transformer.
He's a psychopath.
He kind of has an interesting design. He's kind of like Clockwork. He's kind of steampunky. Again, so there's something different. What I'm now realizing is the less expressive a Transformer's face, the better. His face is kind of similar to Bumblebee's. Mm-hmm. He's way too much. He's like the annoying sidekick character. He's
Jar Jar.
Yeah, he's not meant to be incompetent, but he's meant to be funny, and he's not. Mm-hmm. And he is 100% ripping off two things. He looks like C-3PO.
Mm-hmm. Which they mention.
Yeah, they lampshade that. But there's a line in there where they call him, like you just said, a psychopath. But he says, I prefer the term sociopath, which is a line directly out of Sherlock. Oh my God. Like he is meant to be this. He's ripping off
cringe
Cumberbatch, just Sherlock. Now this thing is more of a funny observation than actually a ripoff. But 2 months prior to this film's release, there was an actual King Arthur film that came out.
I remember seeing it. I saw it in theaters.
And while obviously they're not necessarily ripping it off.
I did not see it in theaters. I don't remember what movies I saw in that year. It was a different film I was thinking of.
It just this movie feels dated even like the moment it comes out. Mm-hmm. Finally, to me, the most egregious thing this movie does, ripping off other movies, because it was super prevalent in the marketing. It was like the big moment in the marketing is a battle between Optimus and Bumblebee, because Optimus has gone bad. He's become quote unquote Nemesis Prime when he becomes mind controlled by Quintessa, And this is a year after Captain America Civil War and Batman v Superman, where Marvel and DC were both doing their big heroes fighting each other stories. And it's not the plot of this movie. It's barely relevant to this movie. The movie, like...
Because we don't see Optimus. We see him in the first 20 minutes, and we don't see him again for like probably another hour and 20.
Like, what is amazing about the movie Captain America Civil War is that the entire film is about the heroes having some sort of, like, neither side is necessarily 100% wrong or right. Like, ultimately, Captain America's side are correct, but, like, you can understand why anyone on Iron Man's side is making that decision. What is funny?
Team Iron Man, so...
You are?
I am.
Interesting. Well, that's outside the scope of this
for
podcast.
Time, but yeah.
See, there you go. See, that proves that the people do actually disagree with Captain America. The hero his name is the title of the movie, but they spend that entire movie disagreeing. There's that incredible plane oh gosh, dang it! Wow, I am way off.
Ooh.
Airport sequence where they're fighting but not trying to kill each other, and at the end they really do try to kill each other, and the Avengers are broken up. Incredible ending to Civil War. This movie has none of that. It's not part of the movie. It's not part of the plot. The heroes don't have a disagreement. Optimus Prime is mind controlled, one of the worst plot devices in science fiction. You have a character be mind controlled and you can have them do whatever you want them to do. And there's no consequences. Pretty much what happens is Optimus Prime is gone most of the movie and shows up at the end of the second act, fights Bumblebee. Now, I will admit what Bumblebee does to knock him out of it is kind of good. This entire series, Bumblebee has not been able to talk for no real explicable reason. And
he lost it in the war.
Yeah, but they fixed it at the end of the first one, and then he just can't talk anymore after that. And then as Optimus Prime is about to kill him, he speaks and says, "It's me, Bumblebee, your old friend." And that is what?
I just think it's funny because he says, "I'm your oldest friend." And I was like, yeah, Bumblebee, the notoriously youngest Autobot, man, is now considered the oldest friend because everyone else is dead. It's default. It's not, there's nothing deep there. It's by pure default.
You're right. You're absolutely good observation. And the scene ends, and like this, what I mentioned earlier, Bumblebee, when it's shown early in the film that he can take himself apart. Bumblebee, like Optimus Prime is like ripping parts off of Bumblebee, and then when the fight ends, he just puts himself back together, and he's totally fine. And Optimus is fine again. And it's just like, we didn't know Optimus was evil until 5 minutes ago. Yes, the fight is pretty brutal. Like I would admit, the actual fight scene is kind of fun, like to see Optimus and Bumblebee go at it. But there's no stakes. There's no setup. The movie's not been building to this. Not really. We just cut to Megatron, Optimus Prime every once in a while.
Your boss showing up after like a vacation and just like beating the crap out of you in your office.
I kept making the joke when Optimus shows up and he's super grumpy and irritable and antisocial and killing people. I was like, how can they tell the difference? This is how he's acted the last 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
There's a reason why people call him, well, what do the fans call him online? Psychopath Prime or something like that.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
So to me, this is like, while this series has been bad and you heavily relies on cliche, it has kind of been its own thing. The previous 4 films were very much Michael Bay's Transformers films, 100%. Love it or hate it, mostly hate it. He was making the movie he wanted to. Almost all wrong choices, almost gratingly stale formula and aesthetic. This one, while it does actually try some different things, it's only doing it because it's trying to be relevant. It's just ripping off other things, and this is the worst example of that. Mm-hmm. Like, what is... if you watch the trailers and the marketing, what you think is going to be the big moment of the movie turns out to barely matter. Even watching the trailers at the time, I was like, that scene means nothing. Like, there's no way they're actually going to be able to sell that scene, which they don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's the end of my bad stuff.
And now we get to talk about the middle tier things that are of note or made us go, as Caleb said,
What makes you go, Rachel?
Okay, so there were some moments that I thought were funny, but they weren't things I liked. And two of them include Optimus. So, for context, at the end of Age of Extinction, Optimus flies into space. And he has this threatening monologue where he's like, "Creators, I'm coming for you," because he's going to kill them for some reason. I can't remember. Is it the very beginning?
It's the like, first scene after the King Arthur stuff.
You're right, because it's so, flies off majestically into space. He's going to kill all the creators. They open up on a scene in space, and Optimus has been frozen by the deep.
Oh, actually, the movie actually had been going for a while up to this point, because here's the setup. I have this listed here. I thought it was hilarious. So you have the opening scene with introduction of Cade and Isabel and Optimus Prime, and they're fighting, and Linux is now leading this anti-transformer force, and he's talking with another guy, and they go, "Oh, what I wouldn't give to have Prime back." Hard cut to Optimus Prime's frozen body hurtling through space. And
so
what I have written down is, something Star Wars fans love is to play Rogue One and New Hope back to back.
New Hope?
Yeah. You go straight from the ending of New Hope right into the ending of Rogue One straight into the ending of, and you can also do the same thing with Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
Yeah.
If you did that with Transformers 4 and 5, just like within minutes of each other, you'll go from Optimus Prime flying into space, and the next time you see him, he is frozen and just hurtling through space
and he
aimlessly.
Somehow manages to actually land on Cybertron at 200 miles an hour.
That's some dude perfect stuff right there.
So yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know. It's very interesting. The other thing I wanted to bring up was also another Optimus moment. TM, if you think this is after Optimus has returned, and so the scene of the final battle is the 12 Knights ship, which has been buried in the ocean for some reason, for like the past 1,500 years or whatever, and they raise it. As it's being raised, Optimus and Bumblebee kind of started their fight, and so Cade and Vivian get to the ship with the help of a submarine transformer, who we never see transform.
It's pretty much just a way to explain how it's driving itself.
Yes,
the submarine is driving itself.
And they were followed by a government submarine. So the government submarine gets there, and as the ship is rising in the water, there's a scene. They did not have to put this in. This is why I think it's so funny. There's a scene where it's underwater, and Optimus kind of is trying to push off the ship to propel himself through the water. And the government submarine comes over and hits him, and you just hear the metallic thunk.
It's so good.
It's so funny, and it's one of those things where it's like they did not have to do that. And what's really, I think, funny about this is in Revenge of the Fallen, when they resurrect Megatron shoots up through the water and destroys a submarine.
Yeah.
So it's just a very interesting balance. I made Cameron go back and we had to watch this again because I thought it was really funny. It's just out of nowhere. And the funniest thing is there's no dialogue because it's underwater. We'll have to find a clip of it and post it to social media because it's probably one of my favorite scenes. And it's not like something I liked. It's just, I think it's funny that they put that in.
So I would have probably put this under bad stuff. I kind of forgot about it. But also, I think if you told this to most people, they'll just go, This movie... Okay, so if you're not familiar with the term aspect ratio... No. Aspect ratio is just how the term for the size of the movie. Your phone and your television is 16 by 9. That's your standard aspect ratio for
Old TVs
television.
are often 3 by 4.
And, yeah. And so standard television and internet videos are 16 by 9.
So when your PS2 doesn't work on your new TV, you need to put it in 3/4.
And when you load up a movie on your TV, you often have the black bars on the top and bottom. That's because the film itself is a different aspect ratio. It's a slimmer aspect ratio, which is normally 2.39 by 1. IMAX cameras shoot in 1.9 by 1, so they're much taller than a film. And so when you go to a movie theater and you watch it in IMAX, oftentimes the sequences that are shot with the IMAX cameras are the full thing. And you do see movies, if you watch like the newer Mission Impossibles or the more recent Christopher Nolan films, there'll be sequences, and we even talked about it when we watched my DVD copy of Transformers 2. The IMAX sequences actually filled the whole TV screen. That's common. You also will have movies that creatively change aspect ratios, such as the really famous one from the last few years is Grand Budapest Hotel, to show different time lines and different time periods. Those sequences were shot with different aspect ratios. That's a creative choice use of it. This movie, seemingly at random, cuts between 4 different aspect ratios that are not that different. Whereas oftentimes Grand Budapest Hotel is cutting between 231, the film aspect ratio, and like almost like a square, like a 4:3 old TV aspect ratio. That's like a really nice, aesthetically pleasing cut back and forth because they're different, and it really helps you put yourself in the different times. This movie, between different shots, is cutting between the 2.39 Panavision film aspect ratio, the 190:1 IMAX aspect ratio, but then it's also including 2:1, which is not that different from 1.9 by 1, but it is still different, and then also 2.28, which is not that different from 2.39. So what you have is 4 different aspect ratios that on a scale are not that different from one another, but it instantly pulls me out of the movie. As an editor and a videographer myself, this is one of the worst decisions ever possible. And what it's doing, the result of this is because you're using different cameras for different scenes. Okay, whatever. And leave the IMAX scenes in IMAX. That's standard. You gotta crop those other 2. You can't have the black bars constantly changing, to put it simply. I know this is a film geek thing. I know this is probably like you, and honestly, even I kind of settled into it after a while. You kind of just ignore it. But in the back of your mind, what I think people that don't necessarily understand about movies is, even if you aren't consciously noticing something, unconsciously, your brain is so used to watching movies and television, you do understand how these things work. That is going to completely pull you out of the movie. You are never going to fully settle into the movie watching experience. Ultimately, we can talk about visual effects, we can talk about lighting, we can talk about editing, we can talk about acting, we can talk about writing, we can talk about all this stuff, and it's fun. Ultimately, every decision in a filmmaking process, the first step should be to further the story. The second choice should be to pull you into the world. No matter what the world is, whether it's the real world, it's a fantasy world, it's a comedy, it's an action, you should ultimately get to a point where you forget about that you're watching a movie and you're just enjoying what's happening. You're never going to do that if a movie is changing aspect ratio between shots like this. It's not motivated. That's a long tangent just to say there's even a technical reason why this movie is bad. What else you got, Rachel?
Cybertron looks vastly different in this film than it does in Dark of the Moon. And so it's never explained, but it's so vastly different because, so when we see, it's also way smaller. When we see when we see Cybertron and Dark of the Moon, we only get to see a part of it, and it's, I would say, equal to Earth, if not bigger. It's bigger than Earth in Dark of the Moon, for sure. It had like this very hexagonal style surface. And so when we see Cybertron again, it's probably the size of Earth, maybe smaller. Just not like too much smaller, but it's bigger than the moon. But so it looks just vastly different because when Cybertron is coming to Earth, it also has these weird like pieces of the planet that stretch forward almost like on tendrils. And I do not understand that at all, because when they brought Cybertron in Dark of the Moon, it was just one big piece. And so one thing I can think of is maybe this was a moon. Maybe this was a moon of Cybertron. Yes, and not actually Cybertron.
Yeah, I somewhat similarly thought that the best explanation I could come up with come up with is a lot of Cybertron got destroyed in Dark of the Moon.
True.
And whatever was like the core was left.
Yeah.
And that's why it has the tendrils.
Yeah.
And this is like an inner part of Cybertron potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot not explained in this movie for sure.
Also, why is there grass on Cybertron? This is like kept me. I would almost say this like sometimes keeps me up at night because it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all that there's grass on Cybertron. It is a metal planet. Unless they are trying to do this weird connection where, for example, maybe that's why they were frolicking so easily. It reminded them of home. I don't know. But so it makes no sense because it's a metal planet. Unless they're trying to make some weird convolution. Athena's eating again, so if you can hear her in the background, she's having a snack. It just drives me nuts. So I don't know if they're trying to make a correlation between the last episode, showcasing that after whatever creators nuked Earth into metal, and Earth still grew as normal. I don't know, still had plants grow as normal. If they're trying to make that kind of correlation, it just makes no sense. It also looks like golf grass. They take care of their lawns there, I guess. I don't know, but it drives me. It's just so confusing to me.
So I've got a moment. This actually is not it's not necessarily about the movie itself. It's if you go, one of my favorite things on Wikipedia is to find controversy. There is a controversy segment for this movie. It's one thing. So the World War II film or sequence of this movie is Bumblebee and another Transformer infiltrating.
It was Hot Rod.
Oh yeah,
You could see it.
infiltrating a Nazi base. Well, as it turns out,
It was one of the Nazi bases.
and so you know it's a Nazi base because there's big Nazi
Big old
flags
Nazi
on the
flags.
building. Well, as it turns out, that was not a real Nazi base. It was actually the birthplace of Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of England during World War II. Nonetheless, many historians and even a descendant of Churchill himself were not happy about this. And look, it's not something I personally care about, but like
That's like putting an American flag on Buckingham. Maybe not an American flag, but like I don't know.
like
That's
I can
so bad.
if you're gonna make it something like this, you should care use any other building.
Do you think they were trying to find a building similar to Indiana Jones because it's kind of like got those big pillars area? I don't know.
Look, I don't know. I just it just is like I think you could have chosen any other building, and maybe they didn't know.
It's not the first time they don't do research.
It's over $200 million film. I think you could spend 5 minutes figuring out which building you're shooting at and not putting
Maybe
Nazi
they just
flags
showed
on.
up and didn't ask anyone.
Who knows? And also they probably put the flags in CGI in post production. So I thought that was really funny and very moment. What else you got?
This was something we kind of noticed together, so I can't take credit for this.
Go for it.
When Optimus first crash lands on whatever he is on Cybertron and he meets Quintessa, she makes a comment because her goal is to basically awaken Unicron. FYI. That's her goal. She's no good. And she says, I can't remember the exact quote. We probably should have gone back, but she makes a comment that Optimus following her lead will create a new home for the Transformers. And we thought, why did she call them that? That is a human word. Their word would be Cybertronians. Like, why? It was just kind of like,
You can just have her say our kind or the kind I created. This her using the word Transformer.
She didn't create them, but whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're not going to get too in the lore.
My final note here, this is kind of a lackluster one to end on, but just like we hammered this point last week, we've hammered it today. Cade Yeager, played by Mark Wahlberg, terrible character. His first line of dialogue in this movie, he threatens to punch a child. And it just made me go, huh. And that's the last thing that I've got.
You made a comment afterward that there are some unfortunate similarities between The Last Night and the Marvel's film The Eternals.
Okay, so we got at least one. We got a shared actor.
Yeah. But there's also kind of like this weird, well, there was supposed to be a sequel to The Eternals, but we all know how that's ended up. Weird kind of old Englishy lore of, yeah,
and like there's a lot of different scenes that take place in different parts of human history, and I'll let you list the rest. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
They were both bad.
Look, if you're gonna draw parallels between a Transformers film and or Eternals and say they're similar because they're bad, we're gonna be here all day.
And there's the Unicron's prongs. I don't know what horns coming out are very similar to. We watched it once.
So
the statues. Of
Eternals is about them trying to Earth. It turns out, and both of them, Earth turned out to be something else.
Yes.
In Eternals, Earth is a giant egg to hatch a Celestial. And the Celestial starts to come out of the Earth at the end. They stop the process, and he like freezes, and he's got his arm and his head out, and it's very similar to the horns coming out of the Earth in Transformers 5. So yeah, there is a lot of strange parallels between these two films, and both ended their respective series.
Yeah.
So do you have any more?
No.
So I've got just a list. We're gonna close out here with. So I got two lists of quotes from the movie and quotes from our watching. Out of context quotes from Transformers: The Last Night. You know who they always kill first? Lawyers.
This would have been so good to watch with Caleb.
This paper's made from some type of goat scrotum or something.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The fact that they brought John Turturro back to play.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that.
No, we didn't play it. And he said scrotum not once, twice in this film. Because the first time he was describing the pages of this old book that he was sending Anthony Hopkins to find. And so old books are very fragile. A lot of times you can't like touch them, can't humidity. And he says it. He describes it. Do you have to censor me for this? He described it as like a dried goat scrotum. And he said it. And Cameron and I just look at each other in silence.
Anthony Hopkins says to a man, "But you want to know, don't you, dude?" He also says, "That's the watch that killed Hitler. Don't screw with it." Someone says, "Don't kill the messenger, or the messenger will kill you." Well, that's Cogman, I think, says that.
Yes.
And finally, this is it's, you know what? It's very fitting that we're finish this series with a quote from our favorite character, Agent Simmons. His final line in this series, which gives some context real fast. He's in this movie, a few scenes, but he's on the same location and he's on a phone. Like he's in the movie. They pretty much just went and found.
Oh, and so Transformers are illegal on Earth everywhere except
Cuba?
Except Cuba.
The communist leader of Cuba, what's his name?
Fidel Castro.
Castro is giving asylum to Transformers, and pretty much what it seems like is they asked Simmons to come back for this, or John Turturro, and he pretty much said, "Pay me for me to have a vacation." And so they took him to wherever they actually shot this. I doubt it was actually Cuba. And he spent his entire movie on the phone giving information.
Yeah.
And his final line in this series is, "I never had it, brother. Feels nice. Beach, let's go. Woo!" And that's it. That's how the character exits the series.
To go play volleyball with Transformers. Don't forget. It's a very important note.
Okay, so quotes. I've got two from my wife and one from Rachel. My wife said, so there's a part where Bumblebee is driving away from a scene, and a government agent shoots him with a tracker, and it's beeping very loudly, and my wife just goes, "That's pretty loud for a secret tracker."
It is.
I don't even remember the context for this. I just have written down that she said, "Oh, it's when Optimus shows up." And Elsa just goes, "He's got some boobs."
They did give him pecs, yeah.
And finally, in the same sequence, Rachel, you made the incredible observation. You just said, "Soggy Mark Wahlberg." And I thought it was hilarious. you have any final thoughts on?
I have quotes.
Oh, you have quotes. Go, please.
Two of them are my own because I think I'm hilarious. But I got one from Kara that just was so funny at the beginning. So this is where we see Merlin trying to beg the knights to come help King Arthur. For some reason, I don't know why they're included in these politics, but whatever. And for some reason, the knights that give Merlin the staff that's gonna save Earth. And the knight goes, I have to say without laughing, protect this staff. One day a great evil will come with it. And you, Cameron, without missing a beat, go, Mark Wahlberg. And then a pause. No, Kate Yeager, even worse.
Thank you.
And I'm going to flex probably what I think is the funniest joke that I have made out of all of these films because I just think it's really funny. So
we're somehow ending on some high notes today. Yeah. Shocking.
So, just because I think it's funny. Anyways, there's a part where we talked about the aspect ratio. So the scene of Bumblebee and Optimus fighting on top of the night ship it's surfaced at this point. So Lennox and Cade are there surviving. There's a lot of water washing up over the sides, and they get washed in one shot. And in an IMAX shot, the water hits them, and in the next shot, you see them like kind of resurfacing and like gasping for air and all that. And the IMAX and the aspect ratio goes back to the 9:16. And I said, do you remember what I said?
Yeah, vaguely.
I said, "Oh no, the ocean washed away half of the screen."
Good joke. Is that the one you think is your best?
I think that was probably one of my favorite jokes.
It's good. It's good.
The other one I thought was, it's not really a joke, but I said it last night or when we watched it, so I feel like I need to reiterate it. So we were talking about, the Marvels. This movie could have been worse. Like the last night actually could have been worse. And it could have been worse because, it's not as bad as it could have been because Harry Styles wasn't in it.
That's true. He could have been in the World War II sequence.
He could have been it, and it would have been so much. For context,
because this is actually the same summer as Dunkirk as well.
For context, I can't stand Harry Styles in anything he acts in.
Oh man. And is that it? That's all
I got.
Okay, so final thoughts on Michael Bay's final thoughts for Hotbot Summer. We've watched every Transformers film other than Bumblebee.
Yeah.
So we watched the original animated film for the first time. We watched all 5 Michael Bay movies. We watched Transformers: Rise of the Beast in theaters, which is a very special experience that we got to watch a Transformers film together in theaters, which we've never got to do before. Because I
don't remember who I saw the last night with. I think my mom.
Yeah, because we hadn't even met at that point. We met just like the next month.
Yeah, because it came out in the summer.
Mm-hmm. And we met in late August.
Wow.
And Bumblebee came out over Christmas break, so we were not in the same place.
I forgot. Did it come out the same year?
No, it came out 2018.
Yeah, okay.
See, that was... You can see they were trying to make this a franchise. They came up with another one less than a year and a half later, but it just didn't pan out. Bumblebee is good. Rise of the Beast is decent. This just, unfortunately, Michael Bay just kind of went scorched to earth and just wrecked the
If I can't have Transformers, nobody can.
Like, he so thoroughly poisoned the well that even when there is a decent Transformers movie like Rise of the Beast, it just feels very lackluster. Yeah, exactly. He's still involved. And while he was probably right about not including G.I. Joe, it's
the only time we'd probably agree with Michael Bay.
Yeah, really. It just I'm reinforced on my idea that I do genuinely like the first one. I think it did some stuff and it was fun, but they just never learned from their mistakes. They never improved. They just continued to make bad decisions. They continued to burn through terrible side characters and comic relief characters. They never managed to get like really good voice acting going. They hired some decent voice actors. Actually, I meant to mention earlier, just with our running tradition of looking up voice actors and seeing if they were in the other franchise that we cover. Jess Harnell in this movie is the voice of... Sorry, I'm trying to find him. Jess Harnell Oh, what? Sorry, I'm totally lost now. He was one of the Transformers. I'm not sure exactly which one. Just apologies, I was not prepared. Barricade. So he has one line. He has one line of dialogue in this movie, and he has been in a lot of different Star Wars stuff, a lot of video games and stuff. He often plays Kyondi Mundi, and he's like in Knights of the Old Republic, and he's in Jedi Academy, and he's in the Obi-Wan Kenobi game, and he's in Racer's Revenge. So there's a little bit of tradition for you. But like, I love cartoons. We both love cartoons. We love, like, voice acting is a beautiful thing. And outside of Peter Cullen, there's not another standout voice performance. Whoever's doing Starscream in the first three is doing a pretty Starscream performance. I feel like we should know who that is. But like, they even brought in Tom Kenny, who's one of our best voice actors now, and gave him trash characters and trash writing. And he was never going to be able to save that. Like, he's doing pretty typical Tom Kenny stuff, but like, it's just very annoying. And on top of that, oftentimes they have garbage audio editing and sound mixing on the Transformers voice. So they fluctuate between overly edited, overly roboticized, and sometimes they just like sound like a human. Like in this, there's a character played by Steve Buscemi. Again, Trader. Phenomenal voice actor, phenomenal actor, very funny guy, a very distinct voice. It makes sense why you would bring him in. Did zero editing on his voice. It just sounds like he's just in a booth. Like, so I think that's a huge crime that this series committed. They don't focus on the Transformers enough. Like, again, like I said, know your strengths. I think a Transformers movie that focuses on humans could be good. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say Transformers 1, that's supposed to come out next year, the animated film.
Yes.
Sorry. I have my reservations about the cast. But for years, everyone's like, there's too much humans in Transformers. There's too many humans in my Transformers, you know. There's just too much. And so if this movie does well, if it's a good movie, I think it could bring a lot of change and show Hasbro, people actually want to see it without humans. Because it's supposed to be the origin story.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well,
we'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think the casting of Chris Hemsworth, I think Chris Hemsworth could do a good voice performance. We'll just have to wait and see. But like, just the sheer fact that they cast him shows they don't necessarily have the right intentions for making this movie, but cautious optimism for sure.
Cautious optimism.
And yeah, I think that's a good place to end. Is like, there's hope for the future, I think.
We'll see.
Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast are better movies than the Michael Bay sequels.
Yeah.
Rise of the Beast did great in Peru. So maybe there's hope for another one.
They did talk about a sequel. I think it did hit the threshold, the typical expected threshold.
You know, the expectations of success right now are crazy because of COVID. And now with the writers and actors striking right now, nothing's getting properly greenlit. I think the potential of if you want to do military guys, do G.I. Joe guys. Like, I think G.I. Joe and Transformers could easily make a good movie together, even though there's never been a good G.I. Joe movie, in my opinion. There's only like 2 of them. But, and most Transformers movies are garbage, but hey, they could come together in a good way. I think they just need to find their director. Like, they need to find someone who can do this large scale action and also, yes, cares. Like, understands what makes Transformers good. While I liked Rise of the Beast, I don't think that director really understood what makes Transformers good, really. But also, he was probably working within a big machine. I don't necessarily think it was fully his fault. But there wasn't a take there. There wasn't a vision, I don't think. But cautiously optimistic nonetheless. What's always a good time, always a good pick-me-up, is some meme minute, but it's longer than a minute. It's thankfully shorter than 5 Michael Bay Transformers films. It is the Meme Parsec, Meme Astrosecond segment. Rachel, what have you got?
So It's obligatory, not quite a meme. Crazy ass moments in Transformers history retweeted someone another trailer account that was showing some promotional material for Rise of the Beasts, and so they did a collaboration with Eminem's Rise of the Beasts, and so they just had some like basic marketing.
Okay.
And they retweeted it and saying they stand on the shoulders of giants, and then posted some of the Eminem promotional material from the 2007 film, and it goes hard. It has the
I
Eminem's
remember
dressed
these.
up as
Yeah.
it was just
yeah.
it's just funny because I'm scrolling through Twitter. It's Twitter. We're not calling it X. And I just see they stand on the shoulders of giants, and that could have been a lot of things, but that's what I scrolled down to. Very, very amusing. Do you want me to show all my memes? We're going back and forth.
Yeah, sorry. I'm preparing our conclusion. I'm excited. We got our final Optimus Prime monologue. It's really long though, so I'm trying to figure out how to
Thank
do
goodness
this.
it's the final one.
Okay, so this is a video I referenced earlier. This is not directly a Transformers meme, but just listen to this audio, and I just imagine that this is the Dark of the Moon writer's room.
Someone's Googling right now. Looks like what the Earth looks like when you're a bazillion miles away from the planet Moon.
Yes, I
The
just
planet
squinted
moon.
at it.
From
You're
the
right.
moon, looking back
From
at
the
the
planet
Earth.
Moon. From the planet
Isn't the moon a star?
No, the moon is the planet, darling.
The sun is a star. Is the moon really a planet?
The moon is a planet.
Don't look at me
honey.
like that.
It's
The sun is a
it's
star.
Planet.
Is the sun not a star?
I don't know what the sun is.
The sun is
We
a
don't
star,
know what
isn't
the
it?
sun is.
The sun is a star. The moon is not a planet.
moon
I
is
knew
a
it.
planet.
I knew it.
Excuse
You were trying to take me down that road.
This keeps going, but I just thought that felt so hilariously relevant to our Dark of the Moon conversation. The moon is a planet, darling. So funny. Ah, that kills me.
Ugh. Yuck.
Okay, what else you got, Rachel?
Someone got this cute video of Ben Mendelsohn spotting a Star Wars like Rebel phone case at the red carpet at the premiere of Secret Invasion. And so it's very cute, his reaction.
So Ben Mendelsohn was
Director Krennic, sorry.
Krennic in Rogue One.
And they modeled him for Rebels. They just couldn't get him in.
Please. What up? How? Let me just get a.
Please.
No, is that really his? No, is that my ship? No, that's a poxy other ship. like if you're gonna see, this is the thing. Any punk can be a rebel. Look at this filthy rebel back.
This is cute. This is so
I mean,
cute.
Okay, look, I'm just please.
I love this.
Sorry, I'm having a phase shift. I'm having a phase
It's
shift.
adorable.
Phase shift.
Oh, it's
Please.
his fellow Australians. That's
Yeah.
why he was willing to go full crocky with his fellow Australians.
Oh, wow.
I almost knocked my microphone over.
Yeah, that was a sign telling you to stop.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay, so this is how do I? Okay, so this is a video.
POV, you're Cameron learning how to use his phone.
I'm sorry, I've got it muted. I'm trying to figure out how to It's really fast video. So it just says gender reveal, and it's a video of the Death Star blowing up the.
I know exactly the video you're talking about.
The Death Star blowing up Alderaan.
It's good.
I know exactly what you're talking
Darth
about.
Vader just yelling, "Let's go!
Let's go!"
It's really, really funny.
When
to me.
when I text you, let's go, that is the tone I am texting you in.
I love that.
Let's go. That is
And
what.
it cuts him off. I'm a sucker for like a perfectly timed cut as well. So, okay, what else you got, Rachel?
I'm back. I'm out of videos. Other
Same.
villains motivated by revenge, love, their past, etc. Unicron. I hungy.
Let me see. Let me take a look.
I hungy.
I love that. So this is. I'm not going to count this in the meme. Oh, as a reminder to our listeners, we each made one
yes,
meme.
It's a meme game.
And we are currently each
1 to
three
1.
and 1.
No,
Or 4 and 1. 4 and 1 from last week. And as a reminder, Caleb was 0 and 2.
Next time we have him on, we can't let him guess.
Yeah.
We can't tell him the answers. We can let him guess. We can't tell him the answers till we each guess.
Yeah, good call.
Sorry, Caleb.
So this one is just a screenshot of a video I took today. I'm going to show it to Rachel. What do you see here, Rachel?
Daniel Logan.
Yes, that's the big joke. So it's a video of a very, very poorly made wax figure of young.
He's orange.
Of young Boba Fett, like from Attack of the Clones, and it's just really ugly. But then I noticed who posted this video, and it's Daniel Logan, the actor who played him himself, and that's the really funny part to me.
Oh, he looks so bad. Like you could see the wig. So bad.
This clearly they just took an adult's head that they had just lying around. All right, what else you got, Rachel?
Speaking of Tom Kenny, when you thought you avoided the, you're gonna have to get ready to censor this one when you thought you avoided the bloodshed on Scarif by staying in a ship, but suddenly the hallway goes dark and you hear Vader breathing. The image is SpongeBob with a photoshopped Rebel helmet on,
Oh, man.
and I believe this is the Pretty Patties episode where
No, it's the Bubbles.
Oh, it's the bubble
Yeah.
episodes. And he puts out the little folding card on his stand and it just says,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
and he's smiling. That's what makes it funnier.
Yep, real good. This one visually resembles a meme from a few weeks back.
Oh.
Someone's taken the young boy from Revenge of the Sith and made him blue, so he looks like a Force ghost, and it says, Master Skywalker, the Death Star's collapsing. What are we gonna do? And then it's got dying Darth Vader, and his eyes are real big, and his lightsaber's ignited.
That's cursed. That's so scary.
I love this edit. Oh, it's
so
such a good edit.
scary. You do.
What else you got, Rach?
Very visual.
Walmart and Empire logos next together, and it's someone's eyes. I think it's a dog from like SpongeBob, not SpongeBob, Family Guy, just looking back and forth.
I think it's actually Futurama.
Oh yeah,
But anyways, but yeah,
the
there's
logos do look very similar.
yeah,
It's
the
very
the Empire and Walmart logo is
suspicious.
like a little similar.
Here's yet another little kid from Revenge of the Sith meme. There's a bunch of them, and they have red lightsabers, and it says, Master Skywalker, there are too many of us. What are you gonna do? And then one of them is stabbing Anakin and just has the credits, directed
my
by George Lucas. Oh, man, I love that. All right, what do you got?
So I got a picture of young Boba, Jango Fett, clone troopers, counterfeits, and Jango Fett is frowning at clone troopers, but then smiling. There's a Photoshop smile, counterfeits, and it's FETTS.
That's a fun. Yeah. So the counterfeits war. This one says, me and the boys want to make Bad Batch memes. However, you can't take screenshots in Disney Plus, and it's just like a phone photograph of a TV screen with an image from Bad Batch of Crosshair saying, "Then we improvise."
This is good. No words, visual.
I think we've had this one on the pod
Have
before.
we? I don't know what
I've
you're
seen
talking
this.
about.
It's good. Go ahead and describe it.
So
It's really funny.
It's a mirrored image of the gingerbread man from Shrek when his legs are broken off. One on the left has Anakin's face, and the one on the right has Maul's face. And the next scene of Lord Farquaad holding up the legs is is a screen cap of Obi-Wan screaming at Anakin from Revenge of the Sith.
Oof, that is terrifying, but very funny.
My next one is my last one, FYI.
Okay, I've got a few more, so I'll do a few here. This one's not. It's very clearly I did not make. But it's just funny. It's a comic panel.
Are you sure? That sounds like something you'd say to throw me off.
This is hand drawn. It just says Optimistic Prime, and he's saying everything is probably going to be okay.
Me at work.
This is a famous scene from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. How do three men in their 30s not have $800 between them? And the three of them saying the economy is in shambles. The economy is in shambles. And one of them is holding a Star Wars Lego. The other one has a Star Wars lightsaber. The other one has a clone trooper helmet on. This felt relevant to Rachel.
Yeah, I feel a little relevant.
This one is purely visual, as is tradition. I'm just gonna show it to Rachel.
No!
So it's Megatron in his tank form, but he's been photoshopped into the Tiananmen Square photo of the man standing in front of a tank. And it's not like just like sloppily put on there like a lot of memes. It's like they've matched the grain and like the coloring a bit.
I know someone who has Photoshop.
Lots of people have Photoshop, Rachel. All these are made in Photoshop. Anyways, I'll do one more, then I'll let you do yours. This just says, my hands look like this, so hers can look like this. And it's a man's dirty hand, and the second one is just what I presume is Unicron's hand, like a toy Unicron hand. But it's like very blinged out.
Unicron! Oh, so good.
I don't know where that image would have come from, but it's quite a choice. What else you got, Rachel?
This is my last one.
Okay. I've got two more.
You know where the Tiananmen Square one.
What about it?
I can't get over it. Things that make you go,
That's a Reddit meme, because if it was on Facebook, I got that one off the Transform memes. Anything goes on Reddit, on Facebook, that would get you banned, man.
It'd be so fast. Of all the things, my stomach hurts. Yeah, this is my last. Guys, this is my last. Oh, I'm getting a headache. This is my last one.
Bay vs. Optimus Prime before Revenge of the Fallen, Bay vs. Optimus Prime after Revenge of the Fallen, and it's happy Mr. Incredible and uncanny Mr. Incredible.
Mr. Incredible. Oh.
So this is a famous Simpsons meme of typically it's say the line, Bart, and then I don't know what in the original thing Bart says something he said a lot. Everyone, he's like saying it very sad. Everyone cheers. What says say the line, Optimus, and there's a very poorly photoshopped image of Optimus over Bart, and it says give me your face. Everyone cheers.
Yeah.
And my last one. This is this was a popular meme back at the end of 2019, going into 2020, and this is one of my more favorite ones. It's the final scene from Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and the old woman's asking Rey, "Who are you?" She says, "I'm Rey." "Rey who?" And she looks over, and it's just a poster of Star Wars Episode 3, and it says, "Revenge of the Sith."
Oh my gosh.
Those memes always crack me up. I think that's a particularly creative one.
So good.
Okay, time for us to...
This is a meme related. I was sending Cameron my memes, and so I shared a post from the Twitter crazy ass moments in Transformers history. I just realized what the hyperlink says.
x.com it's Transformers.
It's just I don't know what it is, but that's just the funny one. It's just it's funny.
I always edit those out, so it's man, she a sleepy girl. You gotta pay attention here, sleepy girl.
Yeah, she was looking at us earlier, but now she's probably like, it's late.
Okay,
It's time for bed.
Send me your memes, girl.
I'm working on it. I almost had it all ready, and then you had to click on things.
Sorry.
Oh. The sleepiest editor.
So just again, gonna plug next week's episode. We're gonna talk about Ahsoka. So
we're gonna have so many memes.
Get your Disney Plus accounts in. Steal them from your grandmother. Steal them from someone. Watch Ahsoka. We probably should have been promoting this for a while. Watch Rebels, or at least read a description of Rebels, or at least watch the final season, maybe.
Cameron, you should tell the listeners what episode you and your wife watched last night.
So I'm trying to get my wife caught up in time. At the very least, watch Ahsoka soon. We watched one of Rachel's favorite episodes, which is called the Honorable Ones. Sorry, I wanted to say Honorary Ones.
Season 2, episode 14, right?
Yeah. And it's the episode where Zeb and Callus are stranded on a moon of Geonosis together and are forced to work together because Zeb is a rebel and Callus is an Imperial, and Callus was responsible for genociding Zeb's people.
No, he took credit.
He took credit for it. He was there. He was involved. And he previously took credit.
This is his "Are we the baddies?" moment.
And it's a really good episode, especially if your favorite character is Callus, for
all two Rachel. Of us out here.
And I think that Zeb is quickly becoming my wife's favorite favorite
episode
character. Sorry, I'm okay. So I gotta look at these 2 memes. These 5 memes. Got to figure out. I think there's 2. There's
Did you
2.
send me yours?
I thought, yeah, I airdropped them to you.
Oh.
Tell me are they all together? I just realized sometimes when you airdrop, it doesn't put them all together.
Yes, they are.
So I hit accept when you were showing me your phone. I didn't.
Well, safe to say you probably didn't make the awful tiny Boba Fett statue.
Wait, tiny Boba Fett. Absolutely, yes. I did not make that. Send it to the actor and have him video it. Man, you say the word hungy a lot. That's very you. I'm guessing the Unicron's hungy video. No, dang it. Dang. I want to take a second guess here. My other guess would be.
Do second guesses count?
No, I just want to.
Just for posterity.
Is it the Walmart Empire logos? No. Which one did you make?
It's the Mr. Incredible one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'd seen that one before, so that threw me off. Well, you did a good job of blending in with other memes. So she made the one that was Bay versus Optimus before and after Revenge of the Fallen, and just the Mr. Incredible meme. Man, she is passed out. We're almost done.
Gosh.
We're almost done, Athena.
Oh, man.
I really am taking the approach of just sending her way too many.
You are sending me a lot.
Okay.
I want to narrow... Well, I need to guess which ones I think it is. I can't narrow them down.
So I'd fall to 4 and 2.
I have seen the Bad Batch one. Though, Then We Improvise. I think that one's from Reddit.
Yeah. I'll give you that one. That one's pretty obvious.
I think I've seen the worst.
Fallen to 4 and 2. Oh no, I have the same number of losses as Caleb.
Oh no!
But 4 times as many wins. What I've done.
Yeah, which one of these memes have you done?
We didn't talk about the Transformers 5 final credits song.
Is it this one?
Say the line, Optimus, give me your face. I did not make that one.
Oh, okay, hold on.
You want to guess?
I want to do a second guess.
No sacrifice, no victory. The piece ends with the
Is it this one?
It is not Vader threatening to kill the ghost. I made the Tiananmen Square one.
You said it was a Reddit meme.
I lied.
See, I worked so many weeks not to lie about where I found it.
I'm sorry. We didn't establish the rules.
It's fine. I'll give it to you.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I almost guessed it.
I was trying to throw you off the scent because you were really...
That was what I paused on, but you were like, see, that's a Reddit meme because you couldn't find it on Facebook.
I thought that was an obvious lie, so I thought I was giving myself away.
I take you at your truth, Cameron.
I'm sorry. We won't lie anymore. We won't lie about it anymore.
Okay.
Very proud of that one. Very proud of
That's
your reaction.
really good.
We sat down to record and I realized I had not made a meme and I just sat and thought for a second and that just popped into my head.
Well, see, that's what I was
which says a
trying to
lot
figure
about
out.
me. It took me a while to record to make it simply because I was trying to find a good image of him. And then once I got the image on there, it's pretty easy to add the other stuff.
I was
but
like, this isn't really like it was a toy one, so that's why it threw me off.
I'm proud of that one.
It's really good.
I
Now
can-
you got to post it to Reddit.
Oh, I should. Oh, that's a burner account. I don't really care about my Reddit account very much. If it gets banned,
the
who
Anon.
cares?
That's good.
Oh, also the trouble I
Should we
had.
post that on social media? think Twitter will get in trouble? Get us in trouble for that one?
Oh man, I'm really proud of it. Probably shouldn't. Man,
What if we put like a big
so
old just
funny,
black
though.
censor bar over it?
Well, see, what I did was I was trying to figure out how to Photoshop out the original tank, and then when I just Google searched, I was able to find one with the tanks already taken out. So someone else did the work for me.
Why does that format exist?
As always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our intro and outro music.
Oh, and now we get to get to the longest part of the recording tonight.
Props to Rachel for our artwork and Twitter account at Rebels Robot Pod.
Props to Cameron to our Facebook running.
And thank you to Athena for editing. I hope you're doing your job over there. And leave us a review. Give us something to read on the pod. Send us memes. Tweet or DM us. Memes or opinions. Oh, I forgot that Megan sent me a joke. Her brother told her a joke. I think I've heard this joke before. Hey, Rachel, what's the worst Transformer? A futon. Yeah, leave us a review. Let us know if you leave a review because I might not see it. Our fates were always intertwined, but now our worlds are joined as one. We need to repair our pods, work together if we wish to survive. A dangerous secret is buried deep inside this pod. There is more to this cast than meets the eye. This is Cameron and Rachel signing off, calling all listeners. It is time to come home. It is time to be done with the Michael Bay movies. Good night, everybody!
Good night.
Let's talk next week!
Hey, so with this being the last Bayverse film we have to watch, is this the last monologue?
For now, yeah. Until he releases another one.
Until the sixth one comes out. Is there a monologue at the end of Bumblebee?
I don't know. Was there monologue at the end of Rise of the Beasts? I don't remember.
I don't remember. No, there was a G.I. Joe cameo.
Yeah, but like the final scene with the Transformers. I don't
I
remember.
don't remember.
Time to go home, Athena. Or time for me to go home, and so you can go to bed. Okay.
CP.